Welcome back to the Del Hollow Lake podcast, where we give you the down low on all things Del Hollow. My name is Bailey Pennycuff, and I am your host. Today, I have Richard DeVries with me. I also have Eddie Cravens, who is a guide on Del Hollow Lake. He does a whole lot more than just guiding, but I think we might focus on just the guiding for today. Eddie, if you want to introduce yourself, feel free to.
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here. I appreciate you guys having me on here.
Richard, you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, I think people know who I am, but yeah, no. I'm Richard. I own Eastport Marino. I also admin the Facebook page Fish Del Hollow.
Yeah. And if you guys remember in the podcast we did earlier, Fish Del Hollow keeps everything in together with anything to do with fishing Del Hollow, whether that be smallmouth, largemouth, crappie, anything you name it. I think Eddie's even posted in it a couple of times, his guides and his fish he's caught. So it's kind of a good place to start. But Eddie, let's go ahead and get started with you. If I'm right, you're actually not from Tennessee, correct?
No, I'm from Indiana. Originally from Florida, but I've been in Indiana for quite some time, and I met a lovely lady, and we ended up. Her family's from Tennessee, and we ended up coming down here like every other weekend, making a 4.5-hour drive. And it just, after years of doing that, one, I fell in love with the lake and the people, and two, I couldn't stay away. I had to make the decision, and it took me a couple of years to get the nerve to come up and just pull the trigger, so to speak, and come down here and throw it all in. And I don't regret it at all.
You know what they call that, don't you?
What's that?
Well, see, if you're from the north and you come down and you're a Yankee, if you come down and you stay here, you're a damn Yankee.
Oh yeah.
If you come down here and marry a local girl, you're a goddamn Yankee.
I didn't know that.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
Did not.
But that's
know.
okay. It's all right. We've got a little soft on our foreigners.
Yeah, we won't hold it against you at all. I won't at least. I can't speak for Richard, but
I tell everybody originally I'm from as far south as you can get. The next thing south of me was Cuba, because I was down from Pompano Beach all the way down to Key West, that area is where I grew up at.
I misunderstood then.
Yeah, what'd you mean? What'd you think?
I don't know. I don't dislike anybody, but I thought you were Yankee, but I should have known by your beard. I mean, all three of us.
Yeah, it's a telltale sign.
And you got the best Southern beard here. And
I got mine from Walmart.
Yeah, mine's starting to get a little gray. Bailey's is barely there.
Yeah, mine's been growing consistently for 4 years, and it's just gotten this long. So you guys both got me beat.
You haven't even trimmed it yet, have you?
I haven't, not once.
4 years.
Yeah, since I turned 18, I've just let it go.
Let it go wild, huh?
Yeah, hopefully one day I'll get to your length.
I don't know. It's a gift and a curse at the same time. I love it, and people it's an attention getter, but sometimes it gets pretty hot out there. And I almost cut it off every now and then, but I think I'm stuck with it.
I went to cut mine off the other day. My wife wouldn't let me. It's funny. The first probably 20 years we were married, she wouldn't let me grow a beard, and now she won't let me cut it off. So.
Does it help your guides at all? Do people recognize you more often?
I believe it does, and I've even had somebody comment. This one guy's like, "Man, that's the greatest marketing that you could do is that beard." He says, because they might not remember your name, but they're like, the guy with the beard. And I was like,
oh yeah,
I've heard that already.
You've heard it already?
Yeah, they were talking about a guy. The guy with the beard.
See?
So, yeah.
Honestly, I think it'd be a good T-shirt design.
We got things in the works. We haven't completely figured.
That's what I like to hear. I like that.
But yeah, and I'm waiting for ZZ Top to call me up so I can go fill in for the guy that passed away. I can go up there. No. I can do it.
Yeah.
So you said you're originally from Florida. Did you start out saltwater fishing, or was it straight freshwater the whole time?
Oh, here we go. I was 20 minutes from the beach, and I was 20 minutes from the Everglades. So I fished both. I really fell in love with brackish water fishing because I like fishing for tarpon and snook with live bait. And it's exciting. It's really exciting. You hook into an 80-pound tarpon on a little light, pin spinning rod with 17-pound test and a 40-pound leader, and they just rip it, and you're holding on for life. I mean, it was good times. So
it honestly makes a smallmouth here sound like nothing.
Yes and no. I mean, you go down on your tackle, get smaller tackle, and you're hoping for that big smallmouth. I mean, I'm still chasing a big one. I believe, a lot of people here don't think there's a lot of big ones here. I believe they're here. It's just finding them is the problem. Somebody's going to catch a big one soon, I believe. So
Yeah.
when I say big, I'm talking, I mean, not record big, but 8 or 9 pounds, because I haven't seen any caught 8 or 9 pounds in a while.
We've had
Yeah.
one. We've
You
had
have-
one. In fact, for the last 13, 14 years, I've used that picture on every piece of advertising I have. You look it up right now, you'll see it. It's a 9-pound smallmouth, and it's massive. I couldn't imagine 11, whatever.
I pulled
Yeah.
a 22 incher yesterday. I got 5 fish yesterday. I went fishing like 1:30. I was scouting, and I pulled 5 fish in 3 hours, and every one of them was like over 19 inches, and the biggest one was 22.
Wow.
And I was using 8-pound tests and just loving it. It was a good time.
Yeah, I've
And
seen you post those on Facebook, and I have to ask what you were using.
I hate to admit it because some people don't like it, but I was fishing live bait. I'm a live bait guy.
It catches fish.
Well, it is because, I can take a customer out and we can both fish, say, I don't know, a Ned rig. A lot of times I'll catch a fish and they won't, they just haven't been here putting in the time and effort to, I guess, know how to finesse that, and live bait, you catch more variety of species. And I'm out to please people. I like taking families. I have a 20-foot pontoon boat that I use as my fishing guide boat. I take families and I want the kids to catch catfish, bass, largemouth, smallmouth, walleye, whatever. I just want them to catch fish. I have days where we caught drums, and catching a big old drum is exciting for somebody who doesn't get to fish that often, especially kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, who wants to go out on a boat and not catch?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, fishing artificial, I can do it, but I'm getting lazy these days, and I like to put out a good old live shad and let them eat,
Yeah.
One of the things we put on our website or the Facebook page is, if you like to fish with live bait, so be it. I sell live bait, and customers want to do that. If you don't, you want to hang out with somebody that wants to teach you how to do tournament fishing, well, go do that. Trolling, that's a different style. Some people don't like to do it. There's plenty of guides, plenty of people to choose from, and you just have to pick your style and pick your guide.
I mean, if I have a customer that wants to fish artificial, we're going to fish artificial. I'm going to take you to the best places I know and try and put you on fish, and we're going to see what happens. I'm not against that at all. I troll in the summertime when it gets real hot and you got to go deeper for the fish. I try and adjust to the customer, to the best, to, make it a good trip. That's just plain and simple. I'm out there. You know what? There was one group of guys I went and we fished. We ended up catching flatheads the whole time. And I hurt my back netting flatheads. And the guy was laughing because he's like, I hope to hurt your back every time we come here. So
I guess. Yeah.
It was a good time, and that's the thing. It's all, to me, I'm not, tournament guy. I'm not pro bass fisherman. I'm fisherman. I go out and I try and catch and have a good time. That's when it stops being a good time, I'll probably stop doing guide work. But right now, I love it. And I love my customers. I haven't had a customer yet that I'm not in contact with. And I want to have a relationship with them, same with the people that I do boats for. It's all about the relationship. And
not the money. That's good to know, because you're going to do some boats for us. No, I'm kidding. Funny story though. They had this podcast that I was on, Paddle and Fin, and they had a guy that makes baits. And so they asked them, they go, each person at one at a time, what do you use? What do you like? What do you think about these baits? And the bait guy was like saying, this is what's going to work this time of year, this clarity of water and all that stuff. And so they get to me, probably the least experienced fisherman on the podcast. And I said, I'm not quite sure. I will tell you that if you put a minnow on every one of those, they'd work better.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And even the bait guy was shaking his head. Yeah, you're right there. But can't use it in a tournament. But through that, live bait will trump it.
there's guides here that, I mean, they're on their game, and as far as like their electronics, they know what they're doing. I fish a little, I fish differently. I use electronics to locate fish, and I scout a lot of spots, and I don't stay in the same spot very long. I got taught that by a couple people. If we're there 30 minutes or so and we're not catching fish, we're moving. But these are tried and true spots. So like yesterday, I went out without any electronics on my boat at all. I just went and tried a new spot. Well, now it's going to be another spot, you know, because I've been wanting to try this spot, and I pulled right up in there and put my baits out, and it wasn't 5 minutes, and I already caught a 21-inch smallmouth. It was a great day, and I was only out there for 2-3 hours. I mean, it was a great day. So
and you said you ended up with 5 smallmouth, correct?
Yeah, I got 5 smallmouths in about 3 hours, and I probably lost 3 fish, and it just was a good day. I mean, you have those days, then you have days where you can't buy a fish, you know?
Yeah. Oh, trust me, I've had a lot of those days.
Yeah.
You know,
I've had them.
You know, recently I went fishing like right when the rain came, muddied up the water. You know, when calling the dock, people will say, "Hey, is the water muddy?" And I'll say, "Yeah." And they go, "Oh, darn, I was going to come down and fish." Next guy that calls, and he'll go, "Hey, is the water muddy?" And I'll say, "Yeah." And he goes, "I'll be right there." You know, so different people have learned to fish in that water that way. And so I went out the other day. The water was muddy. I hadn't had really a lot of luck with it, but I went to where one of our creeks was coming into the river. And the water was flowing pretty good. And so I had a Ned rig with a 4-inch worm, and I could see the fish down there. You know, I recently got live view, and I quit counting at 36 largemouth. Now, not one of them was really huge, but it was a really fun 3 hours. I mean, it was just fish after fish after fish. Probably I'd say my best day ever as far as quantity. That's
a pretty good day.
Yeah. It was fun. I mean, and there was times where I would say every single cast was either I caught a fish hit my worm, or I lost it getting it to the boat. You know, I mean, every single cast. So that was crazy. I mean, they were just right off a drop off to 15 feet. And I mean, they were just in schools. I mean, they just wanting to eat. Now, then I went yesterday, big fat zero, water as clear as can be.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot of people had good luck yesterday. A lot of people had good luck yesterday. You know, I'm on the different sites and everything like that. And it seemed like the bite was starting to really come on yesterday. And I'm hoping it continues, because, I mean, that's what we want, you know, is fish. We're going out there to catch fish.
Yeah, well, what the change yesterday too was I didn't put my boat back in the water. So I took one with no electronics, no trolling motor, nothing, just the same bait, and just beached it on the bank right there.
It really just sounds like excuses to me, but
yeah, I suck at fishing, you know, unless until I got live view. I did. Now I'm a pretty lucky fisherman. I wouldn't say a good fisherman. I'm pretty lucky.
I mean, even someone who fished tournaments for a very long time, and I'm sure even a guide on Dahal would say the same thing. Most of fishing, you have to know where they are, but it is luck. Like, you can throw into a school of fish and never catch a single one, or you can randomly not know they're there and catch 20. Like, it is mostly luck, but does help when you know where they are.
Yeah. So Bailey, just to talk about you real quick. Now, I mean, we just started doing this podcast, and again, though, I mean, we've done a couple different angles, but you worked for Eastport for how many years?
Yeah, so I started with you guys at Eastport in 2016, I believe, as soon as I was able to work. It's 2022 now, so it's been the better half of 6, going on 7 years.
Yes. So the rest of high school and college and
I took 1 year off that I don't think you guys are ever going to let me hear the end of. Worked a year in Johnson City, where I went to college at, but then came back. So yeah, I've basically been here all the way through high school and college. So
in your you did high school fishing, you know, you were on the team. In fact, your partner was a pretty girl that ended up on the cover of Fishdale Hollow, right?
Yeah. So the fun thing about that was we started a high school fishing team my freshman year of Livingston Academy, where I went to high school. And we didn't have a fishing team. So me, my partner, whose name is also Bailey. So the joke was that our names were B squared when we'd go into tournaments. we started a fishing team. It was like 4 of us, so 8 kids in total. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. I wanted to get into it because my grandpa, actually, Benny McBride, had been a guide on Del Hollow for around 30 years ish.
Famous guy, isn't he? Pretty famous.
Yeah, he used to be. It's
Used
kind
to
of
be.
weird now. He doesn't have a boat. He doesn't have any fishing rods. He doesn't have anything. But he used to be really famous. He used to go on tour. If you've ever been to like the Bass Pro, when the pro fishermen are talking, fishing out of the big tank after they've caught a big bag of fish, he would talk there. He's hosted the Bassmaster Classics a couple times. So I kind of wanted to follow in those footsteps, not even close to how good he did. But he had me on the lake so much, I was like, I know this lake and nobody's going to outfish me. And I was very wrong. So that was an eye opener. But yeah, I fished high school fishing for 3.5 years. Yeah, I mostly know tournament fishing. I mostly fish artificial, but I will say anytime I do fish with live bait, I catch way more, like hands down.
Okay. All right. So he has a little bit of a pedigree.
Yeah, I know a little bit of what I'm talking about. Not that I can execute every time, but I know some things.
You've watched and listened to Benny do it for years.
Oh yeah, ever since I was able to walk, I've been on the boat with Benny fishing.
You know, at the dock though, we still get people that come out and ask if he's around, or I mean, you know, there's people that fished with him years ago. So, you know, I know that his reputation has always been pretty good.
And Eddie, I don't know if you've done any night guiding, but that's what my Paul was really into, was night fishing and guiding during the night.
I have, but you know, so far I haven't had a large demand for it. I mean, I'll go fishing at 3 o'clock in the morning. You fish till 3 o'clock the next day if that's what you want to do. You know, customers ask me, they're like, "Well, how many hours is this trip going to consist of?" And because they're trying to see what they're going to get for their money. And I'm like, "We're going to fish till we're done." You know, we go out in the morning, and I've had some people by 9:30, 10 o'clock say, "Hey, we got 15 smallmouths in the boat." Well, we don't have them in the boat because we let them go, but we put them in the boat. And they're like, "We're good." And then there's people that we fished till like say 1 or 2, caught fish, and then we went and ate food and went back out and fished again until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm versatile when it comes to stuff like that because I enjoy fishing. You know, it's not a job really. You know, I got a big enough boat where everybody can be on there comfortably, and we have a good time. I enjoy my customers. I really do. I like meeting new people. And the majority of the people, I'll say all the people that I've met so far, I've enjoyed spending time with them, you know, and I like hearing their stories and catching fish. You know, it's just, it's food for my soul. I know it sounds, I don't ever try and get weird with people and tell people, you know, I believe in all kind of stuff, but this lake has changed me. I was in Indiana and I was hating life. I had a good job. I worked at a company doing plumbing for years and years. I fought traffic every day. I got tired of it. I got burnt out, and coming here, it's just changed me. It's changed me in a good way. You know, I love it, and I'm going to keep doing it for as long as I can do it.
So we sent a customer your way, right? There is a older gentleman sent him your way, and I'll tell you his side of the story. He said he came back, and I said, "Well, how'd the fishing go?" And he said, "Well, I wasn't too sure at first." He walked up and he said he has a deck boat, and he put it on the bank, and he had like 8 fishing poles going out the back. And he goes, "I don't know how to," and he's using live bait. And I wasn't quite sure where we were going with that. He goes, "Within 5 minutes, we caught our first smallmouth." And he goes, "He kept me busy all day long." And he goes, "I looked at him after that first fish, and he goes, 'We're going to be just fine, aren't we?'" And I think you still talk to him, don't you?
I talk to John Blewett on a regular basis. I love that guy, man. And we talked for like weeks before he actually showed up, because he's a little bit of a hard ass, you know.
He is. He's a talker. So he had really high expectations, and the bottom dropped out when he saw you, you know.
Yeah.
But boy, you know, he's got a lot of respect for what you do and how you get it done. You made a friend too, you know.
Absolutely. And I follow him on Facebook, and he's been living the good life. He's been Grand Canyon. He's been the Smoky Mountains or whatever. He goes all different places. I mean, he's living his best life, and he'll be back in the spring. And I told him this year, I said, "I can't wait for you to come back." He's one of them. You know, I have a favorite list on my customers. Not that they're all not great, but that guy there, I mean, he brought guys with him that I guess their dads used to go fishing with John every year. Well, their dads have all passed away, and these younger guys are continuing that with John. And that touched me, that touched me. And so I won't say they let him get most of the fish, but he just took the pole. He took the pole, and he said, "You know why I caught more fish than you guys?" And they said, "No, John, why?" John says, "Because I'm pretty and y'all are ugly." And he was just a great older gentleman, and I'm going to stay in contact with him, and we're going to fish again soon, hopefully.
So Bailey, your grandfather, Benny, you say he has a go-to bait, right?
Oh, absolutely. Doesn't matter water conditions. It doesn't matter how warm the water is, how cold the water is, nothing. If he's on the water, he's starting out with a white spinnerbait with silver blades. No gold blades, nothing on the skirt, no grub, just a white spinnerbait. And so honestly, sometimes if that's not working, he just goes home.
Wow.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense to me, but I mean, someone who's fished that long and knows more than me, I can't really say anything. But no, he always starts with a white spinnerbait. Occasionally he'll go to a hair jig, but normally it's just a white spinnerbait. He'll fish it all day long.
And see, I had a buddy when I was growing up. We used to fish, and I was I called them Christmas worms. I'd use a big 10-inch worm that had green and red sparkles and a purple worm, and I pinned the weight to the head of it. Well, my buddy was a rattle trap guy, and he fished rattle traps no matter where we went, what we were doing. He was just a rattle trap guy. And I was a big worm guy till I moved here. I won't say you can't fish them here, but you can't fish them here like you can fish them in other places.
No, agreed.
Here, you gotta do a little more finesse bait. The Ned rigs type of deal, wacky rig. I mean, there's stuff I've learned here, and I'm still learning. I'm going to continue to learn, and that's part of why I'm glad to be a part of this. Is when you stop learning, I mean, you fail, so I keep opening the door to new stuff. And heck, I might end up fishing some new bait instead of live bait one day. Just whatever's going to catch the fish is where I'm going to go with. It's about catching,
So recently, so I mean, it's the middle of winter. It was cold as well. I can't say hell. It's cold as
I mean, you did.
Yeah, it was freaking cold. So I mean, we couldn't even go out on the water. There was so much ice. So we're a little bit shallower. The water temperature yesterday was 37 degrees. And when I talked to you this morning, you told me you're catching fish like crazy on the other hand.
I was catching fish like crazy yesterday. The cold weather, I like the cold weather better than I like the hot sun as far as fishing goes. I'm a warm natured creature and I love the summertime, but the fishing's more difficult for me. It is. I mean, there's people that go out there in the middle of the day, 800 degrees, and they're catching walleye like crazy. They're on to something that I'm not, winter, fall, spring, that type of deal. I think the fish are just more active. I catch more. I do catch bigger. I just do better, fall and spring, my best times, the water temperature, you get above 70 degrees, stuff like that, it changes things, fish move into different places and you have to change with them here. That's the thing about Dale Hollow that I had to learn the hard way, because I had to take everything I've known from my growing up years of fishing in the Everglades and stuff like that and throw that out, because I'm not catching bass in 2 foot of water here. I'm not saying it can't be done, but not like it's done in Florida. Fish are seasonal, just like I've been doing a little, river fishing, and, in the spring, you can go down and catch skipjack in a certain place at a certain time. You can catch trout in the lake at a certain place at a certain time that you can't catch them any other time, but in the middle of summer when it's hot as can be, trout can be found, migrating someplace, I guess you'd say. And when you find them and you know where they're at and what season to fish for them, you have to learn different things here. And that's part of the enjoyment for me too, is it's not just your everyday 100-degree weather like Florida fishing the same patterns. You have to change with the fish. If you don't, you're going to get left behind. People are going to be catching fish and you're going to sit there and say, well, why am I not catching fish? You have to figure out what's going on here.
You have to be willing to change and try some different stuff. I mean, I remember last summer, I was actually trolling, and people say you should troll 1.2 miles an hour and all that kind of stuff. And I was pulling crankbaits, and I was late for dinner, so I cranked that thing up. I went to like 2.5, 3 miles an hour, and it was like wham, wham, and over the next 4 weeks, this is the last 2 weeks of August, first 2 weeks of September, I caught 28 walleye. And when it's hot as hell, and it felt a lot better. You got that breeze going at least moving a little bit rather than just floating in the boat. But I caught, and you catch everything. I caught walleye, I caught not smallmouth, but largemouth, crappie, bluegill, doing that. There's just a reaction bite. Water's hot. It just worked for me, So people, when I told them about that, like, hey, you can't catch a fish 2.5, 3 miles an hour. Yeah, you can. I couldn't use deep. The reason I had to stop is because the water got too skinny down here. You couldn't pull a crankbait without snagging it up every time.
Yeah, that was going to be a point I was going to touch on too. Usually, what I've seen on Del Hall, at least, when post spawn, right after spring, like post spawn, it starts getting super warm, super hot for summer. If you're not fishing super deep, you really can't catch a whole lot. Now, there's probably people who do go shallow and catch in summer, but if you're not deep cranking or like doing a deep drop shot or a really deep Ned rig, it's really hard to get bites. Like you said, the fall and the spring, it's really the best time to fish, in my opinion, on Del Hollow. I mostly go for largemouth and smallmouth, but anything in summer, it's just way too hard. Like you said, they're not going to be in 2 foot of water. It's going to be way too hot. They're going to go to that deeper water to be more cool. And I think that might be why you caught so many fish that time, Richard. You went deeper, and then, like you said,
no. This is in the river here, so I was fishing at like 10 and 15 feet. The water was only 15 or 20 feet, but it was typically going over a hole that might be 20 feet deep or 25 feet deep. It's either coming into or out of one of those holes on the river there. So that where I caught them. And I didn't have luck, say, past Big Hollow. It was all this way and up the East Fork or the West Fork. But
now, Eddie, let me ask you this. You said you had to change how you fish when you moved from the Everglades up to here.
Sure.
Did you automatically right away start guiding, or was there a little grace period where you had to find everything out?
It was years of coming down here every weekend, and paying other guides to teach me how to fish here. I had to pay for my lessons because I got tired of coming up here. I'm used to catching Everglades fish where I knew what I was doing. And I come up here and I couldn't buy a fish. It was bad. So I started, I hired a few different guides, and I learned, I listened to them, and I watched what they did, and I learned from it, and I started practicing the stuff like trolling, live bait. It was stuff that I would have never, I used to troll in the ocean, I wouldn't think you'd troll here, but you can troll here. And the speed thing that Richard was talking about, I agree with it, because I'll start off, maybe at 1 mile an hour. 1 mile an hour, I might end up at 2.5. I usually don't go over 2.5, because if I can't find them from 1 to 2.5, I usually try and do something else. That's just me. I call it a day. I go eat a sandwich. But yeah, I had to come down here and get lessons and pay for some of them, and the rest of them, it's trial and error. And I've had a lot of errors, and they're working for me. But it took years to figure out just where I'm at now, and it's going to be years and years before, I'll never consider myself even close to one of the best on this lake, because there's guides on here that just make me sick sometimes with the stuff that they produce. I love having good trips, and I've been fortunate enough and lucky enough that I've had good trips, and I've put a lot of fish in the boat. And I start off sometimes, I'm sitting there, I'm scared till that first fish gets on, and then when they start coming and going, and I love getting in that rhythm and people catching fish. And I like people. I have people on my boat taking turns. No, this one's yours. No, go ahead and get this one. They get tired. They're like, no, I love that. I had 2 triples this year on live bait and 3 doubles where, they came around a main lake point and they were just schooling, and I had rods just bend over, and it was a great time. When you got rods ripping each direction, and people, I had to put numbers on my rod holder so I could be like, number 8, number 2. and
It's always a good problem to have.
Well, yeah, because if you tell them there was one hit, you got 8 rods back there. people are like, which one? And they're freaking out because they've got like, anxiety going because they're wanting to catch a fish. And when you tell them the rod's going off, you got to be able to be in number 8, number 7, number 6. And it's worked out really good now that I put numbers on them.
So your boat's set up for kids, anybody, right? I mean,
oh yeah, kids, family, couch. I got a couch on it. I bring coolers. I provide drinks for people. If you want a sandwich or something, bring your own sandwich. Because I'm gonna eat mine. I don't want to eat it in front of you, so you got to bring your own food. But I do drinks. I have a couch on there. I actually listen to Bob Seger radio on Pandora while I'm fishing. I'm not one of the guys that believe you got to be super quiet. I don't blast the radio, but it makes the time go by, and you get to listen to some good music, and we fish and enjoy ourselves on my boat, and I won't have it any other way. That's what it's about.
From someone who fishes in the ocean, you would think you had a skid. So the fact that you have a pontoon boat, is that solely for the reason of getting in a more comfortable environment, or did you just make the change because you thought it'd be time to do something different?
I didn't ever think I'd own a pontoon boat. But luckily I got a Bennington 20-foot SX. It's with the live wells on it, and it's got fishing chairs, and I've done a lot of electronics to it and altercations to it where I've got it where it's more fish friendly for more people. Because I have a bass tracker also, and the bass tracker, I put 2 people on there, including myself, and it's crowded.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to get away from being crowded, and I was like, what other better way to do than a pontoon boat? And it's put it this way, I've taken my bass tracker out twice this year, if that tells you anything. My pontoon boat, I've just learned to fish it. I enjoy fishing it. And I can put, say if I do night fishing, I can put one person on each corner with lights, and everybody's, has room. And it's just, it's worked out in a lot of ways that I never would have thought that it would have. If I was in Florida, I probably wouldn't have a pontoon boat fishing in saltwater. I'd have a DV 21-foot Mako or something like that for trolling. But here, I can't think of a better boat. I mean, unless you got one of those big old Sea Arcs, which I'm a fan of too. I like Sea Arcs, but a 25-foot Sea Arc is going to cost you a heck of a lot more than the pontoon that I bought.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Well, it'll keep the kids, in there. They're not going to fall out as easy.
Absolutely.
So it's safer for the kids. You can fit more people. You can be more comfortable. You might not look as cool to some people, but
hey, my boat's cool. What are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you trying to say, Richard?
Well, you might be a little slower.
Okay, I am a little slower.
Yeah, some people got to go fast, but I agree. I think it's a good choice.
Yeah, it's working out really well, especially if somebody wants to sit down and eat a sandwich, I got a couch with a table there right in the middle. There's a bench in the back. I have 2 seats up in the front. There's a lot that can be done on this boat. I think when I took that customer we were talking about, John, out, I think there was I want to say 5 of them, and they just took turns catching fish, and it was a good time, because I do like to approach it 8 live baits out there. I target 2, and I've got it covered across there. And if I don't catch fish in 30 minutes there, I'm moving, because I got 8 live baits out there. If I'm not catching fish, they're not there. They don't want them right where I'm at, because I've moved literally across the canal, and started catching fish, and just that close. You can just move across, and they're over there targeting live bait. It's the way that I've learned to fish. If I find a different way to fish that produces as much, I'll change in a heartbeat. But right now, that's what's putting fish in the boat. And same with trolling. I troll. I run planer boards. I run divers. I'll fish 90 foot of water, but I'm suspending my bait in like 25 when I'm trolling, and I try and run it across the top of their heads as many times as I can, as wide a spread as I can. I might be covering 75 feet this way, 75 feet that way, so I've got 150 feet of baits coming across what I think is the target area, and side imaging and down imaging and all that stuff help you out when you're fishing in 30 foot of water.
Yeah. So question for you then. So you fish primarily what part of the lake?
It's changing. Okay. Like I used to run down the Willow Grove area first place I'd go. I'd run straight to Willow Grove and I'd fish back towards the Cedar Hill area where I'm at.
So your boat's kept at Cedar Hill, right?
Yeah, Cedar Hill. And now things have changed, now I still, down by Willow Grove has always been my go-to spot, but now I'm finding more and more go-to spots that are closer, so I don't have to run as far. I'm not saying I won't continue to fish Willow Grove, but I've spread my fishing area. I basically fish from the dam to about Sulphur Creek, and I have spots all along through there. I don't really go much further just because, as you pointed out, I have a slow boat. I have a slow boat, but
no, it's not that slow. I mean,
she'll run about 23 miles an hour with it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not bad at all. Yeah.
That's plenty.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
That's a good cruising speed on a pond.
Yeah, it'll run about 23 miles an hour with 4 people in it, and live wells full and stuff like that. But from the dam to Sulphur Creek, I really don't need much more lake. I'll probably never fish all that. There's just so much lake here.
So picking up customers. So will you go if somebody's staying at another resort? I know you're not going to pick them up at Eastport, but which marinas would you think pick them up at?
I honestly, I try and get most people to come to me. And if that's a problem, I don't mind going to Horse Creek, Mitchell Creek, all the way up to Sulphur Creek. I mean, somewhere in that area, I don't mind going. It's no big deal. I can be at Sulphur Creek in, 20, 30 minutes, so I'll meet you there in the morning. It's not a big deal. I'm going to, other than unfortunately, Eastport, that's just too far. That's
man, we're right in the middle. What do you mean?
Yeah, middle of what? middle of
nowhere.
Yeah. No, we're not in the middle of nowhere, but we can see it from there.
Yeah, we're very close.
Hey, one thing I just thought of too. So fishing on a pontoon. So a little bit of rain, you got covered, right?
Well, I have a canopy on there right now that covers pretty decent. But I'm waiting. I went and talked to an upholstery shop, and I'm going to get in the front, I'm going to have it with the see-through windows and a zipper. It's going to cover my whole fishing area, not my fishing area, my driving area and the couch. And I'll have a zipper in the back with the plexiglass. I don't know what it is. It's some type of see-through material. But if it's snowing, I'm going to be able to fish, and I'll have a little buddy heater in there. So we'll go out and reel the fish in, but we're getting back in there when we get done.
Yeah.
But rain doesn't bother me. If it doesn't bother the customer, I take fishing as a challenge. Sometimes it's like, if you want to go and it's 10 degrees, I'll go.
But if it's misting though, it's not gonna ruin your trip. You've got some place to stand.
No,
so that's
there's
a
been
difference.
times when we've been in the middle of a thunderstorm and I've caught some of the best fish I've ever caught.
But you got wet though because you're using the bass boat. So
also very
just
true.
saying, and if you were trying to go through the rain in the bass boat, it beat the hell out of you, pelting your
it
face.
feels like needles.
So going 25 in a pontoon boat with a cover is pretty more comfortable. I mean, we got customers, they want to fish, but they're not diehard fishermen,
When I get this canvas done, it should be soon. I'm waiting for him to actually I got to bring him the boat, which I hate because that means I got to take it out of the water and bring it to him. And he says it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks. So I'll be down for 2 to 3 weeks.
I had to pull that tracker out, huh?
And I may have to tell him postpone it, but I'm going to get the canvas just because overall summer, winter, I'll be able to be protected. And I think it'll just cater to people more where not everybody wants to get soaking wet. Not everybody's that big a diehard. The biggest thing is I like to do is make sure kids are happy, because if you have unhappy kids, you have an unhappy fishing trip. Because little kids you got to keep them happy, because if they're not happy, then their parents aren't happy. And I want to make sure everybody's warm and comfortable and the best I can do, as far as that goes. Other than that, when I get the canopy on there, I think I'll be able to fish year round. I do anyway, but I'll be able to fish year round and not freeze somebody to death. I think it'll be appealing to people also, because they'll be like, well, you can go fishing with this guy, or you can go fishing with Eddie. He's going to keep you warm and catch your fish. So, It's up
Yeah.
to you.
And then what's the best way for people to contact you if they want to go on a guide trip with you? Do you have a website, Facebook page, just phone number?
I'm Eddie Cravens on Facebook, and I do have you see, I have cards I pass out. I know I can't get it to come in clear, but I have cards. Mainly just on Facebook is the easiest way. Eddie Cravens. You can't miss the beard. I got a fish. I'm holding it up. You can go on
Pretty
there.
marketing.
Huh? Yeah. See, they'll be like, that's him. So there's no mistaking it. That's the easiest way. And I get a lot of business from word of mouth. People that go fishing, they're like, go fishing with him. Because another thing that I do, and I hate to do it, and I've only had to do it, I've done it 3 times this year, I'll admit it. If I take you fishing and we have a bad day, I don't charge people for it, man. I just don't have the heart to tell somebody that it's like $350 or $400 or whatever the price is. And we caught 2 fish. And I've only had to do that 3 times. I went 16-3 so far. I haven't had an abundance, a lot of trips, but the 3 people gave me gas money. They're like, no. And I'm like, I feel better about this. And because we caught fish, but like one trip we caught 2 little smallmouths. I was embarrassed. I had 4 people in the boat. Another trip we were trolling. I caught a smallmouth and a trout with 4 people in the boat. So I just said, you guys don't owe me nothing. And they're like, I can't believe that. And I'm like, well, I'd rather be known as a good guy than somebody that took your money. I'm not taking anybody's money. I don't need to do that.
Yeah, and I'd say that's a huge thing. Now I will say you might have some people be like, oh no, we didn't catch anything, and just sitting on the side now that you said it'd be free. But yeah. I think it's a huge thing. People find it a lot more credible. And like you said, you're 16-3. Like you have a good record. It's not like people are going to be like, oh, we might not catch.
Yeah. 16-3. And the 3 started in the dead heat of summer. That's when the 3 started. I don't have them numbers in fall or spring, or winter. I have that this summertime. I just had a hard trolling wasn't going like I wanted it to a couple times, I mean, like I said, I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm proud of my track record so far, and I'd like to keep it continue going good. And like I said, I don't have the heart. I've heard of guys that you go out there for an hour and starts raining, they want to bring you back in and still charge you the money. I can't do that. That's just not. I can't do it.
Yeah, well, that says a lot. I mean, you're backing up your service with, money. That you're going to lose it, even when it's harder to catch a fish. So that should get some people. Now, just so the Fishdale Hollow Facebook page, you're on there. So if a customer gets on there and they don't remember your name, if they just say, hey, I'm looking for a guy that does this, you check it quite often, right?
Yeah, I do. I'm on there a lot. If I'm not fishing or working on boats, I'm on there trying to see what people are catching and where they're catching it and what they're using for bait. I'm doing my research whenever I can.
Okay, so the other thing is, if you put on there, hey, I'm looking to fish with the guy with the beard, everybody will know who that is, right?
I hope so. Eventually, one day they will. I don't know how soon it'll be that I'll be that credible, but I really hope that it comes to that point. I learned something here. I don't know. I had a different mindset in Indiana. I was all about making money, and that's all I really cared about. Well, coming down here, I really care about keeping my name good, and my name will make me money, I hope. There's a big difference in the way things work here and there. I honestly, like I said, between traffic and day to day, just I had a job where I did what they call under slabs, which is you go into a house after they put the footing in and you put the sewer in and you put the water in and then they pour the concrete. So I'd come in, I'd be the first one to come in there, and me and another guy, we'd do 2 of those a day. And it was every day the same old thing. 2 houses a day, 2 houses a day. I got where I was like having nightmares about it, And now I come down here and it's different, it's the people live differently down here. They think differently down here. And I really like the way it is. I think more people, I don't want more people to come here, because I don't, but
no.
Yeah, I'm not trying to, I'd like to keep it the way it is. It's evolved in 5 years, 6 years that I don't even like sometimes. I try not to fish on the weekends because there's too many people out there. I try not to fish on holidays. But I mean, if you want to fish on 4th of July, we'll go fish on 4th of July.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
but I'm going to get
Yeah,
out.
you'll be a lot of boats on the water, but it'd be fun.
I'm going to get out at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we'll be done by hopefully 10 or 11. And that's just, and then it's okay because they don't, the traffic doesn't normally get so bad here until 10, 11 on the weekends, and then from then on, you're going to have problems. But I don't fish during the middle of the day for the most part. I fish in the mornings and I fish in the evenings and night, and the traffic isn't as bad,
Well, when you say traffic, and when you move out here from the big city like I did, from Nashville, we're pretty remote, and we get a little busy on the lake, and we think, oh, it's crazy, but it's not near crazy. I mean, it's not like the lakes and places close to a metro area. I mean, people that come to Dale Hollow, they choose to come here. They pass a lot of lakes to get to us, and they give up a lot of amenities of being close to a town, and nobody wants that crowd like, the lakes closer to a metro area. A few of them come to mind. I won't say anything. I try to be positive about everybody, but we're not near as busy as other places. But we like that. I mean, we like that there's not houses everywhere.
Yeah.
Some people come down, oh, I can't buy a house on the lake. No, you can't. And we don't want you to. You have to want to come here. Because, it is extra expense. You're going a little bit further, but God, it's worth it. I mean,
I come from the place where, you go on a lake on the weekends and you spend 2 hours getting your boat in the water. You spend 2 hours or more getting your boat out of the water because there's a line. It's just, and they're not the size of this, so you don't rent slips down there. You can rent slips down at like, what's the one in Bloomington? Lake Monroe, stuff like that. But even them, you try and troll, there's 50 boats coming by. There's not a lot of respect. I'm not one to pick at wake boats, but if I'm sitting on the bank and I got 4 customers with me and you have another 300 yards of lake, why do you got to come by me?
Absolutely.
Twice, you drive by me once and then you drive by me again when you see I'm already on the beach, and you couldn't. That's what I say traffic. I prefer to fish.
Yeah. Well, wakeboard boats, and I'll tell you, look, I have wakeboard boats at my marina. I've got all kinds of fishing boats. And I can't say there's any, and if people running through my no wake zone and it's just, beating boats up. I can't say that any certain boat is better. Bass boats are probably the worst. They'll fly by another bass boat. Yeah, they'll complain about other boats. Now, the people in the wakeboard boats, I don't think many of them think about the fishermen, but they've always, the ones we have are real respectful, and they understand that, you can't just go by a bass boat that close. And now down here, I got to tell you, on the busy days, the fishermen probably ought to pick a different place to go because the water's only so wide. You can't get that far away from them. So, but they have places to go. They can go up the East Fork and the West Fork. And I personally wouldn't mind if they made all of the East Fork and the West Fork from Eastport on up a no tow zone.
Yeah, they honestly should.
They should. It's dangerous for somebody to pull a skier up the East Fork or the West Fork. So leave it for the fishermen, and there's always going to be compromise, and not just, I'm for this or I'm for that, that law that the wakeboard boats aren't supposed to be within 200 feet of, the land or marina or anything like that, really wasn't designed for our lake because we don't have houses on there. Those lakes that have houses, and docks and everything right on the waterfront with nothing protecting them as far as the no wake zone are just getting, destroyed. So that law in Tennessee wasn't really designed for Dale Hollow because in much of the lake, it's rock faces. Now, where it's not, wakeboard boards are having a little bit of erosion problem, but So, I leave that up for the politician and the lawmakers to figure all that out, and the TWRA, and they're the ones that decide all that. I don't want to get in the middle of a battle between fishermen and skiers, because there's a lot of fishermen that ski and there's a lot of skiers that fish. So,
well, they're passionate about skiing just like I am about fishing, and I respect that about them. And I don't mean to pick on wakeboard boats or bass boats speeding by you or anything like that. But when a bass boat speeds by me and I'm sitting on the bank, they're not causing as much wake as somebody that's dragging water ballast in their boat full, and
there's a 3-foot hole in the water. It just picks you up and just throws you, wherever.
Yeah. And I've had a couple bad experiences. It was one day in particular, I had customers out there, and I'm clearly fishing in a spot. There's no other boats around. And this wake boat come down next to me, and I mean right up on me, and just threw us up on the bank, and then turned around and did it again. Yeah. It was just like, I just put my hands up. I'm like, really? Come on, man.
Well, I tell you what, one time there's a wakeboard boat, a really nice, expensive wakeboard boat came in, and he went past the no wake zone a bit. Not real bad, but a bit. Well, he got to the boat before our dock, the gas dock, before his wave got there. Mm-hmm. And it bounced his boat around, and his very expensive sunglasses went in the water. And I was on my way to go say something to him. And his sunglasses in the water, they were expensive, went in the water. And I go, well, he learned his lesson. He done, waked himself. So I just let it be, so,
I understand. Like I said, I understand passion about the lake, wakeboards, skiers, jet skis, whatever. But there's enough lake here that everybody can give each other respect, and we can all enjoy ourselves. We can. That's part of why I'm here, because it's that big. Where in Indy, you've got a little man-made lake here, a little man-made lake there, but they're nowhere near the volume that Dale Hollow is. It's
mud
not
puddles.
Even close. Yeah, they're mud puddles.
They're mud puddles.
I've heard about
people that come down to Dale Hollow, right? Okay, yeah. So the people that complain the most about the drive are people from Nashville.
Yep.
They have to drive 2 hours to get to us. Yeah. Right. But they pass like 6 places that are really nice before they get to us.
Yeah.
People from the north, it's either cold water or mud puddles until they at least get to Lake Cumberland. Right. And so, and they pass Lake Cumberland even to come to us. So, and people from Michigan, they have to go 12 hours, and they complain the least. And they come the earliest in the season because they're used to cold water, and they'll ski, with the wetsuits on. And they're the last ones to show up in October, to ski. And like I said, they complain the least. So it all depends on what you got to offer. The north is either cold or mud puddles. So that's why Dale Hollow's real popular with them.
I say I have 9, or say I have 10 houseboat customers. On average, 9 out of 10 are from Indy. Cannot believe the amount of people that are here from Indiana. I never knew it till, I started coming down here, and I'd see people, they'd see my license plate and they'd be like, Indy,
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. And I'm like, there's a bunch of Indiana people here, and I'm happy. I was going to change my my area code on my phone because I wanted to appear more like a regular, but I left it because people are like, oh, you're from Indy. It's helped me a little bit, They're like, there's my Indy buddy.
Oh yeah, that's because they like, oh, there's another Yankee.
Yeah. You're on that today, aren't you?
Well, I was born in Seattle, so I don't know.
He does it because he's right there with you, is what it is.
But I've lived in the South my whole life. Mostly Texas, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee. I actually lived in 28 different places, 3 years in Germany. So, my dad was in the military, and we continued to move around after I left home and started my career. I was one of those people that, the boss says, hey, move here. I went, it normally was a promotion, more money, and it just helped me out. So ended up in Nashville and decided, I was going to get out of corporate and buy a marina. My wife thought I was crazy. She actually asked that I maybe go have an affair instead. buy a sports car, and no, I bought a marina, and it's worked out well for us. But so I like, I have a Southern heart.
Still am.
Hey, I've been to Seattle. I liked it. I was there to see the Space Needle and Pike Street, and I enjoyed myself in Seattle.
Yeah, it's been a long time. In fact, my wife has never been there, and so we talked about maybe going up to Seattle and seeing the Northwest. I'm sure I've got lots of relatives I ain't seen there in years, but
I was down there during the like Pearl Jam, Nirvana grunge phase, and
my God,
yeah, Seattle was wild. I went down there skiing. Went to, I guess, Mount Rainier and Mount Stevens.
Oh yeah,
Stevens Pass, and I mean, it was wonderful. And everybody was, oh, it rains there all the time. It was light drizzle.
It does. You know what? It's different. I mean, I wouldn't say it rains all the time, but when it rains, it could be a weird rain. I mean, you walk outside, it's not pouring, it's like misting. And you walk out and you're instantly wet. I mean, solid wet, and it's not even pouring. It's just like a mist. I was up there for 6 months. I went to a commercial diving school, and it didn't rain that much. And they all almost call that like a banana belt. Doesn't get a lot of snow either. Not in Seattle. It's like there's a little part right there where it doesn't get near as cold as the mountains that are right next to it. But Mount Rainier, you could go up there in July and there's still a couple feet of snow.
Yeah,
it's way up there. So you could have the ocean one day and the mountains the next day. So it's pretty nice. It's very green. I mean, everything's always growing good, and
it to me looked like the closest thing to I could imagine Alaska would be like.
Oh yeah.
I walk out in the morning and I would expect to see a moose walking out of the bushes and stuff. It was
rocky shores and whales and islands, and you can ride a ferry everywhere, and it's a different lifestyle, but you could be still in the city and be on the waterfront that is just absolutely gorgeous. Water never gets warm though.
Yeah, I didn't hear anybody talk about fishing or anything while I was there, but I did like down the Pike Street when they throw the fish. Did you see that?
Yeah.
This guy threw a fish at me, and I moved to the side. Fish get it down the street. He's like, "You're supposed to catch it." I was like, "Man, these are new clothes. I'm not doing it."
Yeah,
well, guys, I will say we're coming up on an hour, so Eddie, I've had a great time talking to you.
Bailey, I told you, time will fly.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's been great. I've had a great time. I will say, Eddie, we are going to start doing this thing where at the end of these, we're going to ask, what's your favorite bait right now? And then what's your favorite go-to year round?
Honestly, I'd like to fish live bait year round, just year round. That's just, it does more for me and my customers as far as volume. I want to go out and put 20 fish in the boat every trip. And I want to go out and take 4 people and make all 4 of them happy, So until I find something better than live bait, that's going to be my go-to. And that's going to be, I obviously can't really fish it in the summer, but
yeah.
How do you rig that though? Tell us that.
How do I rig it? Well, I use right now I'm trying out something new. I got Suffix 8-pound high visibility line. I put a 1/2 ounce weight on there with a swivel, and then I use a fluorocarbon leader, because I'm afraid, because it's high visibility line, I'm thinking maybe the fish can see it too. So I go with the fluorocarbon leader, and I go with like 10-pound test or 8-pound test to 8-pound leader, and just like number 2, number 3 hook, and hook them. I hook them on a shad. There's I guess you'd call it I don't know. It's a line that goes from the top green and blue to the silver. Right where that line is where I hook them, right behind their top fin, their dorsal fin, and I throw them out there on the bottom and let them do their thing.
A big shad, a little shad.
I used to think big shad were the best thing, because I was like, big shad got to be better.
Bigger bait, bigger fish. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've had bigger shad out there, and they seem to like the medium-sized shad the best. Too small, and they don't do their job. Because the hook, they can't swim good with the hook in them because they're too small. A good 3-inch shad all day long, I'll take it. I don't need the 4 or 5-inch shad, just because I don't seem to do as well with them. You know, the bass just aren't as interested.
Yeah.
All righty.
Well, I've had a great time. I think Richard's had a great time. He's called you a Yankee about 15 times, so I know he's had a little bit of fun.
Just one more time. Just one. Go ahead. One more time.
No.
Oh, he's shy
Really?
now, is what it is.
Oh yeah.
No.
He got his point
Yeah.
across.
But Eddie, thank you so much for coming on. Anybody who
Nice
wants
to
to
meet
get in
you.
contact with you, it's nice to meet you too, man. It's been great. Facebook's your number one, Fishdale Hollow. Somebody will connect you to him. So if you want to get a hold of Eddie and go on a fishing guide, just reach out to him. Reach out to us if you need to, and we'll get you in contact. So Eddie, Richard, I've had a great time. I hope it's been the same for y'all. So.
Absolutely. Anytime. You guys let me know. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks,
Cool.
Eddie.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Sounds good.
Take care, guys. And Happy New Year.
Yeah.
You
be
too, brother.
Thanks.